Joining me for video 2. Today I'm going to discuss my story with you on how I struggled with a weight problem for 20 years. Not only did I have a weight problem, but I had hypothyroidism, I had hormonal imbalances, an extremely high resistance to weight, and a very slow metabolism. And I literally struggled for 20 years. I want to let you know how I overcame all this struggle and how I maintain my weight now. Now, in my story, you're going to hear me mention my thyroid quite a bit, but what you've got to realize is that when I first went on the search to lose weight, I was actually so desperate because I had realized I had a thyroid problem. And I wanted to cure the thyroid because the medication I was on was making me feel really, really awful. This was just an extra struggle that I had with my weight loss. Now, what I want you to understand is that if you have a thyroid problem, this is not necessarily going to help you cure your thyroid. You must stay with your practitioner and follow whatever they're telling you to do, because I'm not a doctor or a practitioner. Now, are you sick of the diet lies? Well, I can tell you I certainly was. I knew there was something wrong with me, and the battle began and lasted for almost 20 years. And in the end, I was so close to mental exhaustion and feeling really crushed because I couldn't find out what was wrong with me. I had joined all the diet organizations, read the books, tried almost every popular diet with very little success. Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Ferguson's, you named it. I felt chained, I felt stuck, and I felt as though no one could give me the answers. My background was in sport, and I was trained to eat well, and I was brought up on a very healthy diet, so it wasn't like I didn't understand nutrition. I never had a huge weight problem until my third child was born, and I always managed to control my weight up to that point with sport and exercise. But of course, as the years went on and as I got older, it just got harder and harder for me to maintain that weight. I started on a really agonizing journey. I knew I had hormonal disturbances and an undiagnosed thyroid problem, but no matter how often I looked for the answers, there seemed to be no magic bullet. I couldn't find out why my body seemed to resist any attempt to lose weight and why my metabolism was so slow. It was a very stressful time for me. I just wanted to know, how was I ever going to lose weight? You know, it was just becoming, and I'm sure there's lots of you out there that are going through this same battle and struggle. Look, I want you to understand it's not your fault. I had heaps of questions and absolutely no answers. So I just took it on off my own bat to start different diets and experiment with them. I sort of tried every one of the popular diets that were on the market with very limited success, because I'd lose a few kilos here and there, but then the weight would simply come back after a few weeks of me stopping the diet. The one thing I did find out, which wasn't, brain surgery, was that I was fairly sensitive to carbs, and the more carbs I ate, the quicker I put the weight on. Well, that possibly relates to, I'd say, 60% of the population. The panic started to set in because I was on this never-ending circle of diet on, diet off, and each year the kilos were creeping up and up, and I honestly had no answer. I was feeling truly desperate. I read, I researched, I tried everything I knew to do. I went to doctors, naturopaths, anyone I thought might be able to help me. And, I eventually just thought, well, is this my future? After a heap of research and study, I realized I had another serious problem. I was suffering from hypothyroidism, which is a slow thyroid, and I'd suspected it for years, but no one could diagnose it because, even though I felt I had it, I'd go to doctors and they'd tell me my blood results were just a little below normal, and You know, like what's normal? It's like saying a 160 centimeter girl should wear size 8 shoes and then we should all do the same if we're 160 centimeters. Well, how ridiculous. So one day I got so furious when I went to one of these doctors. I banged my fist on his desk and I demanded thyroid medication because all the research I had done indicated I had a really low functioning thyroid. My health was deteriorating and I needed to take control, and it seemed like no one was listening. And I mean, eventually they realized I had quite a serious thyroid problem. Because I was in such a place of confusion, I started studying natural medicine, and it seemed I had to do this to try and understand my weight. I needed to understand why my body reacted the way it did and what was happening with it. Why some people could eat anything, stay the same, and not put on any weight, while others put on weight just by looking at food. And I know we've all felt like that, but we very rarely get the answers for it. Once I was armed with the knowledge, I came at it from sort of like a different understanding. And so I went back to those diets that I had been on before, and I experimented on the so-called balanced diets. I even did some crazy diets, just trying to find out if certain things worked and why. And honestly, after all of that experimentation, what I did find was, which again wasn't brain surgery, while I stayed on the diets, I was fine. The minute I came off, I would put the weight straight back on, and then even some more. The final straw came in 2007 after exercising on a regime for 12 times a week. I had been selected in an Australian crew, and everyone in my crew looked like a stick person. And after 6 months, all I did was lose 3 kilos. And I remember coming home from training one night and being so upset, and I stood in front of the mirror and I just cried, and I thought, was I ever going to be thin again? This was so unfair. I was doing just as much work as everybody else, eating a really clean diet. What was wrong with me? I was absolutely paranoid because on this thyroid medication, it was a really natural medication, but the symptoms that I started having, because it was a script, it was a medical script. It wasn't just like a vitamin or a supplement. And there were side effects, and the symptoms were becoming really scary, like heart palpitations and all sorts of things that you just don't want to have go on in your body. And so what I did was I sort of had a focus to see how I could come off this medication. So what I did was I started to research, not for how to lose weight anymore, but how to actually get rid of this medication that I was on. Because they told me I was supposed to be on this medication for life, because when you have a thyroid problem, they tell you your thyroid's not working properly and never will. I just was not prepared to accept that diagnosis, because I believe the body has a huge capability to heal and overcome, and I just had to find out what it was that would be able to kick in and get me off these tablets. I knew there had to be a way to heal my body, and I was searching for that, and I really didn't care how long it took me, because I was not going to stay on those tablets. On my long and tedious research journey, I came across papers written by this doctor, and his name was Dr. Simons, and he had assessed a way of correcting the thyroid as a byproduct of another protocol. And I thought, wow, was this going to work for me? I got really excited. I continued to research, and I was astounded at the results I found, because with this diet from Dr. Simons, resistant dieters were losing weight really fast. But at this stage, I was so pessimistic and so over dieting, it took me ages to try the information, because I sort of almost missed the whole thyroid thing there, because I just thought, no, I'm not doing another weight loss diet. But eventually when I did go on it, I thought, well, I can just try it. I'm not going on this diet for weight loss. I am purely going to restore my thyroid. Now, Dr. Simons believed if you treated the master gland, which is your hypothalamus, it would take care of the thyroid gland, and that was enough information for me to give it a go. Now, I'm not a doctor, okay, and thyroid conditions are complex. And it's like I mentioned to you before, if you've got a thyroid complaint, I'm not giving you this as thyroid information. I jumped in boots and all because doctors could not give me an alternative to my particular thyroid problem. I am so glad I did, because I started the diet protocol and within a week I could see my body changing. And within 6 weeks, I'd lost 13.7 kilos with my first round of what we now call the SMART diet. Oh my gosh, that was more than I had lost consecutively in 20 years on any diet. And I was just so excited. I was shocked, and I could hardly believe that there was no struggle attached to the process like a normal diet. It was easy, pressure-free, just like Dr. Simon said it would be in his research. And by optimizing my master gland, the hypothalamus, it corrected my thyroid. And I also lost stacks of weight. I'm off my thyroid medication with perfect blood results now. This diet corrects your actual weight set point, and it speeds up your metabolism. And the weight simply falls off at approximately 1 to 2 pounds a day, or 400 grams a day. On the next video, I'm going to tell you how it works. My story is only one of many women that have lost weight over a 50-year period on this diet. I know what it's like to suffer from weight gain and not have the answers. I want you to see how other women have achieved remarkable results as well. You are no different, and you'll lose weight just as successfully. And guess what? If you're a man, you'll lose it even twice as successfully, because we all know guys lose it much faster than women. So what I want you to do now is to skip over and see video 2, and I'll explain to you how the diet works, and you'll see some brilliant testimonies of women